sorry about that, technology. Anyway, I wanted to talk about three things specifically. The kind of big, broad stroke about regulation, and then some recent regulation from the Commission, and then look at something in more specific detail about how regulation can actually enable progress. So I've always wanted to quote Barack Obama in a presentation, so I thought today would be a great opportunity to do that. It was also almost impossible to find any quotes from anybody that had something positive to say about regulation. I did find one from Frank Zappa that was very, very negative about regulation, which I thought I shouldn't put out because it was a bit inappropriate. But, you know, Barack Obama is talking about how regulation is super important. I think in energy, it's very, very important that we get it right. But as another inspirational, great global leader also said, I wasn't going to put the other two up there because I thought, you'll leave. Regulation has to be appropriate. It has to be right. For the context, if you have too much regulation, it's just going to put people off. But I also passionately believe if you don't have enough regulation, you don't get clarity and you don't get protection for customers. And so it needs to be balanced. Without enough regulation, we're going to create the wild, wild west of energy. Companies will come in. Consumers' data protection, for example, won't have the right rules and regulations around it. Then they could easily be exploited for their data. They won't trust it. They won't engage with new propositions and exciting offers from their supplier, from other organizations. And without any trust and consumer engagement in energy, we won't reach the net zero targets that we know that we all need to meet. So getting trust and getting the right regulations in place is absolutely critical so that we can push forward all of the measures that we need to do to create connected homes across Europe. Too much regulation will just create homogeneous products which won't actually engage the likes of you and me, because my life is going to be very different to your life. What excites me and my family will be different to what excites other people. So we need to have products that are very specific to individuals, but again with the right protections in place. So that kind of brings me on to the clean energy package, which was published kind of in December, January of this year. And I want to draw your attention to three specific areas of it. There are about 8 different legislative acts, so I wasn't going to talk through all of them right now because you'd definitely be fast asleep. But these 3 specific directives all, I think, relate very strongly to the connected home. And it means that member states across Europe are going to have to provide individual meters, that securely reflect the customer's actual energy consumption. That they're going to have to provide a consumer energy management system to provide smart grids. That they're going to have to provide access to real-time validated data and near-time non-validated data as well for the customer, so at no additional cost, so that they know exactly what they're using and when they're using it and how much that's costing them. It goes into a lot more detail. I won't go into it, but why would the Commission feel that this is necessary to include in the clean energy package? Why is this regulation required across Europe? Well, basically because it's not going to happen if there isn't any regulation. I don't think commercial or regulated industries would do this unless they're forced to do it. And if we don't digitize the energy industry from the consumer's home back to the end of the grid, then we won't reach our carbon targets, zero carbon targets. And a key part of the expectations of this new legislation is that it will enable a new digitized energy world for customers. And part of that world is the kind of buzzword du jour, which is demand-side flexibility, demand-side response. But how do we make that happen is one of the key questions. So to look and have a look at the landscape, the DG Connect requested that Esmig and 2 other organisations, DMVGL and TNO, do a project to look across the landscape of what the standards were to actually try to push forward demand-side flexibility so that customers could buy and sell from the grid, and to see what technologies were required to do that. And basically the view is that to make consumption flexible, you need a consumer energy management system in place, or a SEM. And this is an example, hopefully you can all see that, of how the data flows and where it goes. But how do we make it an interoperable consumer energy management system? And effectively, what we need to do is have harmonization in 3 key areas of the development. So we need harmonization in telecoms, IoT, home automation, and the energy sector. So this means that for a tariff scheme, for multiple tariffs during a day, so you actually pay the price of the electricity at that time when it is generated, as opposed to just a bunched up cost of what it might cost across the day. This data will have to be communicated from the metering services actor to the meter, and then from the meter to the SEM, and prices from this scheme will come back from the energy services company. So here's again the same diagram, but grouped together with those 3 different actors. So having what the project did was it mapped out all of the different standards and found that there were all the necessary standards in place and they're all available, but they had to be brought together and harmonized to make it work in the real world for real customers. And so the problem wasn't the fact that there were missing standards, but it was how to make them work together effectively. And some time ago, TNO developed, also as part of a DG Connect project, the Smart Appliance Reference Ontology, so the language to talk to smart appliances. And in this architecture that came out of this project or study, it basically said that the same architecture is shown for the DSO and the meter operator, work with the IoT platform. The ESCO will also work with an IoT platform to create a home energy gateway, and the consumer premises with all those smart appliances in it as well. And what this slide shows, if you can see it in detail, you probably can't, apologies, is that on that far side, on left side, is one house which has a smart meter, but it doesn't have a SEM. And then on this side, it has a SEM as part of that solution. And that basically means that with that, it makes it a much more sophisticated solution which automates it for the customer, and so that the customer doesn't have to get so involved, and it all happens behind the scenes and pulls it together so that the customer can save carbon, save money, and invest in these products with confidence that they'll work for them in their home. So if you want to talk more about the project and the standards in specific detail, come and talk to me either on the Esmig stand or to Willem, who's the managing director of Esmig. And if you want to come talk to Chameleon, we have a gin reception this afternoon where you'll be more than welcome to come and have a taste of gins from across Europe. So thank you very much. That's the end of my project.